Hello there. We're here live from Karma Fit Studios. Unlike other stations, we bring you nothing but the good news. What's that? Oh my. Wow. That's a doozy. Breaking news. You can't build your chest with push-ups. Here's why. When I think of training, I think of stress. The goal of training is to stress the body in a specific way, to elicit a specific adaptive response. The key words here are specific and stress. Let's break this down with an example. Let's say I want to grow a muscle group. I'm going to need to stress that muscle group to the point that I damage its structure and integrity, so that it responds by building its tissues thicker and stronger to protect itself from future damage.
Now there's a whole host of other factors that come into play when we are talking about muscle hypertrophy, like nutrition, protein synthesis, and cell signaling pathways, but we won't get into those here. For our purposes, we need to understand how to match specific stressors, like the exercises and the loads we use, with the goals of our training. This brings to mind the push-up.
The age-old push-up. Feared by some, avoided by most, mastered by few.
In my opinion, the push-up is often overlooked when it comes to building the chest, but I think it's one of the best exercises to challenge the upper body and overall core strength. Helpful in building a base of fitness, especially in the early stages of resistance training. But as our body adapts to this exercise, it becomes less effective at eliciting muscle size and strength gains, because it's no longer stressful enough on the muscles and nervous system for these types of responses. This starts to happen once we are able to bust out continuous reps, more than 12 reps in a set. Once we start getting into these higher rep ranges with any exercise, it means the loads we're using are no longer stressful enough for the body to respond by making thicker tissues. The body instead responds by enhancing its endurance capabilities, increasing its capillary and mitochondrial density and enzyme activity. Hypertrophy slows and muscular endurance picks up. Endurance training is not a bad thing, but it's not going to build bigger muscles as effectively as other means. When we talk about training, we are talking about progressive overload, gradually increasing the stress we place on our system.
I did a push-up today. That's one more than yesterday.
In the case of growing our muscles, progressive overload is more about lifting heavier loads, increasing our volume load, and using eccentric means to increase the stress on our muscles. Hopefully it's now easier to see how pumping out endless push-ups has diminishing returns on muscle hypertrophy, as progressing in reps past a certain point leads towards muscular endurance training, which stresses the body in a different way and elicits a different adaptive response. Muscular endurance training shouldn't be thrown away though. It's just best to place our higher rep ranges in our base of fitness phase if our goal is growth. We can also use higher reps to further tax the muscle that we've stressed with heavier loads. Push-ups are a great way to burn out at the end of a workout. They're also great to use in drop sets after weighted push-ups or heavy presses.
So now we're going to make some exercise comparisons to demonstrate how to progressively overload for hypertrophy with the push-up.
At the end of this video, I'll share with you a unique strategy for growth with the standard push-up. But first, let's start by comparing a 6-rep max bench press with a max effort number of push-ups. By just watching these two efforts, it's pretty clear that they're going to elicit different responses from the body. The load of the bench press causes me to fail after 6 reps. And though I eventually reach failure with the push-up, its load is not stressful enough to recruit and fatigue the highest threshold motor units, which is crucial for growth. In the up position, the push-up is approximately 65% of body weight, and in the down position, 75% of body weight. So in this example, the push-up load is about 130 pounds in the up position and 150 in the down position. My average push-up load is 140 pounds. We know from Schoenfeld's study on the mechanisms of muscle hypertrophy that using multiple sets with moderate loads between 6 to 12 reps at 65 to 85% of our 1 rep max, that our training has the highest hypertrophic effect, inducing significant metabolic and structural stress, whereas low loads greater than 12 reps with less than 65% of our 1 rep max has the lowest effect on hypertrophy, inducing metabolic stress, but not much else. So with a 1 rep max around 255 pounds, this bench press load of 205 is around 80% of my 1 rep max and is hypertrophic, whereas the push-up is somewhere between 50 to 58% of my 1 rep max and is non-hypertrophic. By adding weight to the push-up, I can make it hypertrophic. In this example, I'm wearing a 55-pound weight vest. Now my push-up load in the up position is around 185 pounds and in the down position is around 205 pounds, for an average push-up load of 195 pounds. This is about 76% of my 1 rep max and is therefore a hypertrophic load. I can also make the push-up hypertrophic with an elastic band. There is some variable resistance here, but for simplicity, the 65 pounds of resistance gives the push-up an average load of 205, about 80% of my 1 rep max, the same as the bench press example, making this hypertrophic. So for those of us who are stronger, we can still use the push-up for hypertrophy training with proper loading. The push-up can even be used to elicit strength gains. One study actually compared the strength gains made between 2 groups. One group performing a 6 rep max bench press over several weeks, and the other group performing a 6 rep max band resisted push-up over the same time frame. The results were compared with the control group who performed their usual training regimen. The purpose of the study was to determine if different exercises with similar muscle activity, measured by EMG patterns, could elicit similar strength gains. They did. Both groups had similar gains in the 6 rep max and 1 rep max bench press, though the gains of the bench group were higher, likely due to the specificity principle. So we've shown that we can load the push-up for hypertrophy and for strength, but can we use a body weight push-up and achieve a hypertrophic effect?
There are hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of push-ups, each with different loading patterns and degrees of stress. We're not going to get into those today. We're going to focus on the standard push-up and give you a strategy for how to use the standard push-up to continue to grow your chest. We take the standard push-up and perform it with a tempo variation. Let's take a look.
We can increase the stress profile of the push-up by increasing the duration of any one of its components: the eccentric, the isometric, or the concentric portions of the exercise. Performing reps like these will reduce our capacity, and we can increase the duration of them to make them more challenging. Increasing the duration of any one component will increase the metabolic demands of the exercise due to increased time under tension. But specifically increasing the eccentric or downward portion creates a potent growth stimulus. The increased eccentric contraction increases the passive and active muscular tension, enhancing the hypertrophic response. Studies have shown that eccentric exercise results in greater muscle damage than isometric and concentric contractions. So to maximize the growth potential of a push-up, we really want to include longer eccentric contractions. In fact, we can combine them with longer concentric contractions to maximize muscle damage and metabolic stress. Here we have the greatest potential to make a bodyweight push-up hypertrophic. We can again progress these by increasing our duration of each rep. And there you have it. A tempo push-up with an increased eccentric and concentric portion will create a unique stimulus for hypertrophy gains. Here's a strategy you can try. The foundation for this strategy is that you can perform 3 unbroken sets of 15 to 20 reps of push-ups with less than 1 minute between sets. After that, you can progress to tempo push-ups, starting with 5 seconds down and 5 seconds up for 1 minute. This will be a total of 6 reps. Once you can perform 3 unbroken sets, progress to 10 seconds down, 10 seconds up in your next session. Follow this pattern to 15 down, 15 up. The end goal for you freaks is 3 sets of 1 rep, a tempo push-up of 30 seconds down and 30 seconds up with 1.5 minutes of rest between sets. Though I think there is a lot of hypertrophic potential with this strategy, I would still program it during a metabolic or base of fitness phase due to the unloaded nature of the exercise. Here's an overview of what the tempo rep notation stands for. The first number is for the eccentric, the second number for the isometric, and the third number for the concentric portion of the exercise. The number indicates time. A 0 means perform as fast as possible.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, leave us a thumbs up and let us know what you thought about it. And also let us know if you found this strategy effective for growing your chesticles. Feel free to suggest topics for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We'll see you soon, Baboon. Well, for all of us here at Karma Fit, I'm Kyle Wallace. You stay classy, viewers.
You have man boobs.